Hey folks, it's Jim Martin. Today I want to talk about negative campaign ads. I'm quite sure that all of you are absolutely sick of these sort of attack ads and nasty political ads that we're seeing right now. There's just a swarm of them. I want to talk about why we see so many negative campaign ads and share a little bit about what you might do in response. The background of negative campaigning really kind of comes from perhaps a more positive place where advertising was intended to highlight differences that were distinctive and negative about a particular candidate. The purpose was to inform people about, hey, this particular candidate believes these things or does these things. Now, were they emphasized or exaggerated in some senses? Yes. But the ultimate goal was to inform rather than something else. Negative campaigning really picked up in terms of media in the late 70s, early 80s. You started to see quite a bit more of that. What the proponents, the producers of this found was, and these are designed ads produced by usually ad agencies and stuff that are created by political parties, sometimes by the actual politician that's running, but more often these days, it's political action committees and super PACs that are designing these ads. What is the point? What they found was that the negative campaign ads did not turn dedicated voters away from their preferred candidate. They did not reinforce a person's belief about a particular candidate. Rather, what they did was they affected independents and what we call low information voters. So independents, we all know them. They're people who are like, you know what? I don't know who I'm going to vote for, but I'm going to study and make some choices about that. But they don't necessarily vote all the time, and they don't necessarily view it as a critical exercise for them. If they're going to do it, they look at their candidates and they study them and they choose. They also tend not to like to vote for the same party every time, so they switch their votes a lot. Low information voters are people who are simply too busy to pay attention to all of this nonsense. Which, boy, you know what? Maybe it's not such a bad idea. What that negative campaign ad does, it's not about convincing them to vote. It's about convincing them not to vote. It's about the argument, and you see this quite frequently, and I've heard this said many times, oh, it doesn't make any difference. They're all terrible. That's what negative campaign ads do. It's a psychological attempt to get people to just go, you know what, I just don't care. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to pay attention to this stuff. Something like 10 to 15% of the eligible voters in this country fall into that independent, low information voter pool. And guess what? They have determined the outcome of just about every single presidential election for decades. And that's why it's probably a good idea in particular circumstances to keep them from voting, because you just don't know what they're going to do. That also has a dramatic effect on the down ballot races. So if you just decide, you know what, I'm just not going to participate in this election, I'm not going to show up to vote, then all the people down, all the way down to your local level, don't get your vote either. Increasing the power of the votes of the dedicated hardcore members of each political party. The dedicated fans, so to speak, who always vote Democrat, always vote Republican. By doing that, they really kind of make it an easier game for them, and so they can spend less money. They spend less money, they drive out people that they're uncertain about, they can message directly to their own people and not worry about anybody else. When you see waves of negative campaign ads from one particular party or another, and this cycle it's Republicans, they don't want that wild card of independents coming back to bite them. So they're trying to drive that turnout down. I've seen some negative campaign ads from Democrats, much more from Republicans about various candidates. My advice to you is, if you're watching this on YouTube and you see such an ad, just skip it ignore them, turn down the volume, or turn off the TV. Do your own research. Make sure you're registered to vote. Vote.gov, you can find out how to register to vote in your state if you haven't yet. You still have time. It's running out, but you still have time. And vote for who you believe will represent you and do the best job as a leader in your state, city, or the country as a whole based on your own values. So make sure you do that. And if you like this kind of content, please be sure to share this with others. Comments are welcome. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps me do what I do. And likes are, of course, always welcome too. Thank you very much and have a great day.